This is Greg Troutwine with Maritime Reporter TV, and we're very pleased to be joined today by Andrea Morgante, the Vice President, Performance Services for Wärtsilä Marine. So, Andrea, to start us off, can you give a short career overview and how your role today connects in helping customers manage performance, risk, and long-term fleet value in an increasingly complex operating environment?
So I'm heading marine performance services at Wärtsilä, where I can actually say long-term lifecycle agreements, digital services, predictive maintenance, and fleet optimization solutions come together. My background splits roughly in two chapters. The first chapter was engineering, marine power systems, ship design, global project management. And that gave me an understanding of how engineering choices compound over a vessel lifetime. And then the second chapter started about almost 10 years ago was a transformation. So leading our marine digital shift. Then I worked in strategy towards decarbonization and service growth. And of course, now I have the pleasure of leading the agreement organization. So my work today stems from the sum of those two chapters, connecting engineering reality, digital capability, and long-term customer partnership into a single discipline. And to your point, I think that the reason why this resonates is because I think our customers are in the same environment. Regulation, fuel uncertainty, digitalization, skills pressure. Back 10, 20 years ago, there used to be separate conversation, and now we see them come together because, you talk about performance, risks, and long-term value, and they have to be managed together as one life cycle strategy. So from my perspective, what customer need, what I hear them asking for is predictability in an unpredictable environment. And our job is bringing engineering depth, digital capability, and long-term partnership together so they can make confident decisions today that keep them flexible enough for whatever comes next.
Can you give us a brief by the numbers look at the organization today using the metrics of your choice?
Absolutely. And I think that those numbers explain a little bit of why we're confident about what I said earlier. I mean, one in three of the world's 110 large vessels carry Wärtsilä solutions on board. And that install base gives us a window into the real operating reality of our customers. So we appreciate different vessel types, segments, business models, regulatory environments. Um, and that insight is backed by genuine service capability. We are really proud of the 3,500 field service engineers that we have globally. I'm also personally very proud of a renewal rate of our service agreements that is above 90%. We take that as a very strong reference of customers perceiving value from what we do. And also we believe a lot in customer support, remote customer support. We resolve over 90% of the tickets remotely. But then honestly, if I had to say maybe one of the biggest numbers that I'm really proud of, um, it's not in the revenue figures, it's in investment figures. If you look at 2025 annual report from Wärtsilä, you see that we invested 329 million euros in R&D, about 4.8% of net sales, which is a lot. And that's a commitment we have towards the industry, um, because we want to make sure our customers are ready for whatever comes next. Doesn't matter whether that's a new build they're looking at or they're thinking about keeping the existing vessel compliant for the next 5, 10, 15 years. That's where we're putting the money. We're developing solutions for that. And then looking at now, I talked largely about Wärtsilä, but I mean Wärtsilä is not it's built out of people, right? So almost 18,000 people, 17,900, 199 locations. I guess we should get one more just to go to 200 to make it number round, across 78 countries. You know that we operate both on the marine side and the energy side on land, right? So and I stress this aspect. To me, it's this presence in the field that makes us different, because we can translate the insight that we get from the supporting customers into R&D, and we also can translate our insights into action in the field supporting customers, combining technical depth and understanding of customer needs.
So let's dig a little bit more into that life cycle agreements that you referenced previously. How should we think about them today, or how are people thinking about them today? And to what extent are they evolving beyond what I would consider traditional maintenance contracts, more into strategic tools for optimizing performance and long-term asset value?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I personally have noticed that lifecycle agreements and the discussion around them has shifted fundamentally. They used to be discussed after the sale, um, but we are now seeing that they're increasingly a reason for the sale, because we have proven we can align with what customers actually need to navigate, because the complexity is increasing. Customers are, as I mentioned earlier, facing new fuels, regulatory uncertainty. Um, the vessel complexity as a whole is outpacing crew skills. So I think the beauty of life cycle agreements, the way we do them, is that they bring together the customer and the partner. Like we are optimizing for the same thing, for operators' competitiveness. Um, I think it's the ultimate value of service, when service becomes how you protect long-term fleet value. It does, in our opinion, it does only work if you combine into the agreement, into the collaboration, OEM parts, OEM supervision, support, and otherwise what you're just selling is dashboards, right? So for us, an agreement is not a contract. It's really a structural choice that turns service from a cost line into a competitive advantage for the customer.
You're hitting on so many points that we talk about daily. And again, one of those obviously is we've been talking about the whole calendar-based versus condition-based maintenance for a very long time. While we've been talking about it for a long time, as you see it, where are we today in that evolution?
This is a topic that you can imagine pops up a lot. Um, to me, it's not uh, calendar based versus condition based. Like it's about layering intelligence on top of good practice. So calendar based intervals remain part of the discipline, but what condition based changes is that it tells you it tells you when within that discipline to act. So we combine things like fuel condition, lube oil integrity, cooling water quality. We are developing external sensing capabilities in areas like vibration, acoustic, thermal, and we combine all of this with engine on data. And multiple independent signals give you a far more reliable picture than just one reading alone. And that's what lets us make confident calls, like extending interval when the asset is generally healthy. But because of this, you can also intervene earlier when it's not. So there is a value also in that area. So it's not about doing less; it's about doing the right thing at the right time. And ultimately, you always going to spend less in terms of total cost of ownership, because you're doing the maintenance that matters when it matters. You reduce surprises. I think that really, in an uncertain market, um, when people ask for predictability, for me, what real predictability looks like, it's not about knowing the future. It's about knowing your assets' actual condition well enough that surprises get rarer.
It's interesting because we talk about a lot of these transcendent trends that are moving the markets today, and in some way, shape, or form, a lot of it just comes back to data and information. And I guess from your experience, what percentage of your clients are truly able to turn that massive amount of data, vessel data, into actionable insight? And again, your insights on what's holding the rest back from using that data to better support operational and investment decisions.
Uh, I wouldn't be able to come up with a number, but I can tell you that I guess the reason why you're asking the number is because it's difficult, right? So uh, data without insight is just complexity. That's what I believe in. It's not a. I've been through the, as I said, I've been leading the digital transformation. 2007, we started in 2017. It was all about connectivity and collecting data. um, Most companies hit the wall trying to figure out where their core business ends and data infrastructure begins. Because, and then I think that's a challenge with software, particularly for asset heavy companies. You look at software, you think, oh, it doesn't take much to start. Yes, but then they have a lot to maintain. And the bill keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And so wondering, is that really my core business? Um, so, as I said, a few years back, everybody was talking about connectivity. Connection used to be the bottleneck. That's not the case anymore. We all know that. I mean, and with Starlink and everything. Yet, collection is just one part in the equation. Actually, probably that the fact that it's easy to collect data showed that the real challenge is to know what you're collecting. Uh, Data quality, data consistency across the fleet, it's a whole different game, and I think that's where the challenge is now. As getting it's not about the amount. There's plenty of data, but the question is that can you really get anything out of it? Can you compare it? Do you know what actually that data is? Because the taggings are not standardized and so forth. And then once you've sorted that out, then you move to the next step, which is this: you need the stack to actually interpret it. You need the stack to derive insights from it, and that requires domain expertise, not just infrastructure. So we made this the core of our business early. As I said, we started in 2017. You learn from failures, you learn from mistakes. Technology evolved. Things that were difficult back then are easy now. But we have started early. We made it core. We have an install base watching hundreds of vessels, and we have the stability to work through these challenges and the engineering capability to do the interpretation right. So we're covering the full stack. And at some point, that's at least my experience, as the digital effort grows beyond what they expected, operators ask um, if this really the business, is really my business, and that's when we come in. I think that the question isn't how much data you're collecting; it's whether you have a partner um, with the scale and expertise to turn it into decisions.
When you look at increased digitalization, AI, and automation, what are the biggest opportunities for improving performance, and where do customers need to be mindful of risk?
Yeah, so I might repeat a little bit myself here, because what I said about data applies also here. I mean, AI and digital tools should reduce complexity for crews, not add to it.
Mhm.
I think that's the real test, right? Um, I had just earlier this week a discussion about the distinction between chatbots and agentic AI. I mean, if you are able to implement agentic AI, theoretically you're taking something out of the hands of someone, so you can do better work, or focus more on the outcome of that process. But if you just deploy chatbots, you're just going. Somebody has to read what the chatbot is giving you back, right? So you're not going to save time, and you might actually overload people with answers. And so if I'm looking at where we are aiming, where we believe AI can bring us, is early detection, better maintenance planning, faster ship shore decisions, and we have invested early on machine learning models uh, that are at the core of our expert insight. We are now looking at LLM as a way to integrate and improve the services we provide. But I also um, want to say what we're trying to do is to make our service and make our expert support smarter and faster. What we are also very conscious of is the real risk is tool overload, poor integration, weak cybersecurity. You end up overwhelming a crew with data and alerts, and you're gonna fail because they will stop looking at everything. They become numb. I think this topic of excess alerts has been a typical discussion point every time you visit an engine room, by the way, even before AI was in play, right? So the industry knows about this. Um, to me, I mean, what we believe in is that the strongest approach keeps the crew in charge. And what we try to make sure is there is always a human expert behind the technology. Um, I give you two examples. On the engine room side, we have remote expertise centers with experienced service engineers and technical specialists who listen, interpret, combine data with engineering judgment. Um, on the bridge, we have ex-captains and expert meteorologists. It's a service we provide called Frontier, doing the same thing for voyage optimization and routing. In both cases, AI and machine learning amplify what our experts can see and do. They make them faster and smarter, and there's a lot more we can do with this kind of technology. But the human stays central in both domains. And that's my philosophy. Technology wins when it amplifies human expertise rather than replacing it.
The people is really a perfect segue to the next question because we talk relentlessly about recruitment and retention of the next generation in maritime. I guess when you look at it, how is digitalization changing the skills required? And I guess more importantly, how can technology and partners help to ensure that both cruise and shore-based teams have the confidence and the capability to fully use and maximize the benefits of these tools?
It's yeah, it's extremely relevant point. I mean, the industry is being flagging the need of being more appealing to new generations, to hire, hiring, and at the same time also upskilling the existing generation of mariner. To me, this is really the tagline. I mean, it isn't about old skills being replaced. It's about expanding skills, expanding the skills base. Um, marine engineering fundamentals remain extremely relevant. They're not going anywhere. But now teams also need to understand data, automation, connected systems, networking, and increasingly complex propulsion technologies, and also new fuels coming online with new processes, new procedures, um, and they need all these things need to be understood before they're deployed at scale. And one thing we have that we believe is extremely important is simulation capability. We believe simulation capability matters, but now more than ever. And we provide simulation environments that let operators and training providers model new technologies and new fuel behaviors safely before they hit a real engine room. Then separately, we have Wärtsilä Academy, where we actually build the capability in people. So the continuous learning, hands-on training, uh, the crews being trained to gain confidence on so they don't see these new technologies as a burden. So the way we look at this is that simulation, there is the technology, and our Land Academy builds the skills into people, and together these two things, allow us to in the industry to keep pace with its own complexity.
One word that we keep coming back to is complexity. So, as vessels and operations become more complex, I think the customers are increasingly looking beyond individual products, as I assume you might attest. What does it mean in practice then for Wärtsilä to act as that long-term partner, helping customers to interpret that complexity, manage that risk, and optimize performance across the full life cycle?
Being a long-term partner starts with the customer's objective, not with our product. Um, it means understanding what the customer needs to achieve over the life of the vessel, and then we bring together the right technology, services, data, and expertise to support that. So that's how we lead. We lead with their challenge, not with what we happen to sell. And I think that's really the key, um, because partnership continues well after the delivery. monitoring of the product performance, planning maintenance, advising on upgrades. That's something that comes up a lot. Customers, having a large fleet, they ask if we can develop the product further to deal with challenges that maybe are regulatory challenges that were not there when they selected the product. All of this, I think, is what makes a long-term partnership valuable. Um, and then complexity becomes manageable because when a partner understands both the technology and the operating reality, not just one and the other, that combination is what turns the technical depth and lifecycle experience into guidance, into practical guidance. And by the way, by doing this, we learn a lot as well. I mean, it's really the customer participates in the process of developing. I would say the product is not anymore the hardware; is the service of which the hardware is part. Is a critical part. And so the way I see it is our role is to help customers reduce risks and keep their fleets competitive.
How is growing uncertainty in areas like fuel regulation and investment reshaping what customers expect from a partner like Wärtsilä today?
Look, we have said it before, but I mean, customers need still today technical excellence, but increasingly they need clarity, transparency, and flexibility just as much. Um, they are making decisions today for assets that will operate for decades. They need partners who help them understand both the immediate performance impact and the long-term implication. So it's not anymore about a spec sheet discussion. And this is really what everything I hope we have permeated from the discussion today. Life cycle agreements are a reason for not for are a reason for the sale, not an not an afterthought. Layering intelligence so customers can act with confidence even without perfect data. Um, Developing technology that amplifies expertise instead of replacing it. Um, a partner that understands both the technology and the operating reality. Um, I don't think the industry can wait for perfect clarity before acting. And our role is to help customers take practical steps now, um, reduce risk, build flexibility, adapt as regulation fuels come online, and keep evolving. I think, and I was in Posidonia. I came out of Posidonia. I was 100% sure um, that if given the current situation, everything I learned, it's clear that partners who win are not the ones waiting for certainty, are the ones building flexibility in today, so that tomorrow's answer is already covered. That's and that's how we interpret the concept of partnership and lifecycle agreements.